Well, I don't see the point in waiting any longer, so let's bring her out. The star attraction, the one you came to see. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Miss Judy Gold.
Let me just start today. Everyone knows that this podcast is a labor of love because God only knows I make zero. I actually lose money on this podcast, but I love it because there are some people, like I get to talk to some of the most fascinating people in the entire world. And I get to introduce them to my 3 fans that listen to the podcast. No, we have.
Wait, and then you have me. Am I the charity case?
Shut the fuck up, Robin. I haven't even gotten there yet. I'm doing the intro. Like, the reason I love doing this podcast is because I feel like my whole mantra is that everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. And, everyone's story, each person's story is unique in its own way, but it helps other people to tell their story. And it also links us all together. Anyway, I know I'm getting all profoundy, but, I do a lot of research on my guests. And the more, and I know our guest today, I know our guest personally, because we have both of us have a very close friend who is my oldest, closest, really the person who made me do stand-up, the person who dared me to do it, and who's really good friends with Robin. And we had lunch one day and I was like, oh my God, this woman is like so important in the world, in America, and when it comes to the creative arts and, the intersection of politics and art, and so profoundly affects us, but a lot of people don't know her name. And yet we're having lunch and I felt like I was sitting with like a camp friend. It was like, there's nothing you would meet her and think, oh my God, she's so fun. I want to hang out with her and not know anything. So what I'm trying to say in the longest way, but I'm very excited about our guest. She is the CEO, we call it the CEO of the Creative Coalition, but she's done.
I couldn't spell executive director. It was at ORER.
Yeah. So it's executive director, CEO.
No, I am the CEO because I couldn't spell it.
Of the Creative Coalition. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Robin Bronk. Robin Jew. Now I'm going to just say, I think the Jew Bell, it's going to be, I know Alex Edelman was one of the top Jew Bells, but I think this might rival Alex Edelman. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm a Dixie Darling Jew.
Yes, I know. We're going to get to that. Now, Robin, you have done an amazing, now, if people don't know you, we're going to get to, who you are and what you've done. And the fact that you sort of created the term Pollywood, which is as an intersection of Hollywood and politics. And, this is such a fucking issue for so many people, especially the right-wing conservative. I know you're a nonpartisan group, but, this idea that artists should keep their mouths shut when it comes to, social issues and politics, when it is, in fact, art that has changed the trajectory of social issues and of policies and, made the world smaller. And your love of arts is fucking amazing. And so everyone, you are going to love Robin Bronk. Now, Robin Bronk was born, she's from Clemson, South Carolina.
I'm from Clemson. Clemson.
Okay. Now, the thing is, I've known Robin, I don't know, a couple years. I've known who she is, but I didn't get like a normal amount of time with her since a couple years ago, maybe, where we literally had lunch with our friend. He left, and then we sat there for like another hour and a half. Okay. So, Howard. So, you're a Southern Jew. So you're born fish out of water. You're born in Clemson, South Carolina. Your father is a physics professor at Clemson. Your mother is an interior decorator.
Oh my God, you did. How did you find that out?
Oh, you don't ask Laura, our producer, who's half. But
You know, I was thinking about that last night because I'm pretty quiet about that.
Oh yeah, Robin, let me tell you what I had to go through. When I I have gone through everything I could find about you, even your CUNY interviews I watched, even whatever you wrote in your any interview, print interview, and whatever you wrote in your books. You know, you would write forwards to your 2 books.
Are you my mother?
I'm your mother. So you're a daughter of a professor in the South.
Actually, I was born in Philadelphia because the little known fact is professors' kids move around as much as military kids. So we were always on the lam till my dad got tenure. So in my first 12 years, it was Philadelphia, Princeton, New York City, and then Clemson, South Carolina.
Now, when your family moved to Clemson and your father got tenure there, was your mother were they freaking out? Like, oh my God, we're Jews going to South Carolina?
It is such a good question because, well, I was a young thing. And to me, moving from Queens, New York, where also everybody's Jewish, to Clemson, South Carolina, where someone said, well, we have jewelry stores, but we do not have any Jews. So it was like camp every day, though.
Right.
Beautiful. And it was easy. I mean, Clemson is, because otherwise I'll get shot. Clemson is a cosmopolitan dot in South Carolina, or is cosmopolitan.
But I read that you had Judge Keller's General Store.
Oh yeah, Judge Keller's. So it has a main street, and when I grew up there was, you got your jeans at Judge Keller's, and he was the judge.
And he knew everyone's size.
It was like Sam Drucker. He had a ledger that he'd write in how much it was, and then eventually your parents would pay for it.
Right.
But there was one main street, and being Jewish down there, our synagogue was about 60 miles away. And I have to give my parents credit. They would, remember when there were the station wagons and there would be, drive your kids and they're like, screaming and climbing the walls they just drove Hebrew school twice a week and Sunday school. And
so your mother, was it your mother who drove you?
My mother, yeah. And I just could you imagine that? Driving screaming kids in
Well, first of all, it's for the non-Jews, Hebrew school was like fucking torture.
For failher. Hebrew school is set up for failure.
Right. And so, and then you think of, Elisa, my lover, her parents were like, do you want a bat mitzvah? And she said to all her friends, should I have a bat mitzvah? And they're like, no, then you have to go to Hebrew school. And she said no, but now it's her biggest regret. But I did 3 days a week too. So many kids just went 1 day a week. I did like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Sunday. And then
Sunday.
Imagine, so it's in 1970 something, driving. And so there are all these disparate Jewish families down there. So they carpool. And it was like, lose your parent, had to drive 60 miles each way. There was
wait there.
There were no phones, the kids have phones. I mean, I just I don't know how my mother did it for years.
See what they did for us, and we were all like, I hate you.
Insanity. But my bat mitzvah, so we invited everyone in the town in Clemson to come the 60 miles. And my favorite bat mitzvah gift is a cross that one of my neighbors gave me and said, well, we didn't know what to get, but a cross is always appropriate.
Really? And did you say, no, it's not?
My mother did say in her kind, gentle way.
That's what I don't. It's like, I know they mean well, but do your fucking due diligence. No, it's not okay. How did you feel?
She said, well, There might be one or two times when it's not appropriate.
Like, no! Can I ask you a question? How did you feel? I had mixed feelings about the people crossing themselves at Ruth Bader Ginsburg's.
I am very sensitive to church and state. And
Same.
And even, it's funny because in this culture today, and, having a national Christmas tree and even a national menorah, really, I'm not really that comfortable with it.
I grew up I went to public school. We went to synagogue every week. I went to Hebrew school. But I remember we never got off for Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. And then I remember I was in school when they decided, oh, well, there's a lot, you're going to get off for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Passover. But I never really thought about it because I felt like I lived in this Christian, like I love Christmas. And you think of all the Christmas songs is all written by Jews, but it's like it shouldn't be part of our Christmas politics.
I mean, these days when we're not, there's no pogroms around it, but Christmas was like the greatest for Jewish kids.
Right.
You got the day off. There was no pressure to do anything with your family.
Chinese food and movies. Try doing that in Clemson, South Carolina. Now, were you like pretty much the only Jew in your class?
In my school. It was me, my brother and sister, and then there was the other family.
Wow. So you were a sickly child.
Oh my God, how did you find out?
I am not telling you, but I did my research. Yes, I did. Yeah. You were a sickly child.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I got rheumatoid arthritis when I was right after my bat mitzvah. I was about 12. And back then, also, there was, it's also, all these autoimmune diseases happen to be like Ashkenazi Jewish diseases.
It's unbelievable.
And it's all our inbreeding. But I can't believe that my doc, the pediatrician, you diagnosed it like that. And I have to hand it to them.
What were your symptoms?
It was, it kind of, as a 12-year-old, it kind of just creeped up. It was hard. It's so, Judy, I have to say, I've never talked about this on the air.
Oh.
It's not one of the, I'm on every talk show talking about it. But,
I know, but it helps people, and it's so part of who you are.
So I'm in South Carolina, the only Jewish kid in my school. And in junior high, it was junior high back then, not middle school. And remember how you just wanted to be like everybody else.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Right. And can I also tell you that we kept kosher?
Same.
But our meat was airlifted and like dropped in a field.
No way.
From Atlanta. I mean, my mother, I gotta thank her every day. So also I was so different in so many ways from everybody.
And yet all you want, like, I get it. I was 6 feet at 13. My parents were really old. Yeah, it's the worst.
All I wanted. And so you take your lunch to school, and I had, because something about Jews and aluminum foil. Why did they ever have completely wrapped?
Can I tell you something? Everyone did aluminum foil. My mother did wax paper.
That's kind of cool. I wanted to be a wax paper lunch kid.
We were wax paper, and then a lot of wax paper.
Ours was aluminum foil. It's amazing I didn't get Alzheimer's because I think aluminum has something to do with it. At the time I was 14. So, and it also, everyone had these very Southern meat lunches, like they were, white bread, bologna, and for some reason, tuna fish is like the official food of the Jews.
Wait, what? I am such a tuna fish Jew. Oh my God. Okay, we have to talk about your tuna. I just called Elisa. I've had tuna fish on an English muffin.
Oh, yum.
For 3 days in a row.
I know. So don't you worry about mercury.
And Elisa's like, oh, that's good. I'm like, I've had tuna fish 3 days in a row. What do you put in your tuna fish?
So no, I'm a very plain tuna fish. I just like a little mayo, and I like the mayo because I think that's my southernness too.
Oh,
I put mayo on turkey too.
yeah. Okay. I used to do mustard, but I switched to mayo because first of
Mayo is
all, tomato sandwiches.
Yummy.
But for my tuna, I do chopped onion.
Oh, that's yummy.
I do celery if I have it, because that's very Jewy.
That's a lot of work, though. I mean,
I know, but you know what? I have time now with the COVID, and then I do the.
I admire you.
And I do the mayo. But you know what? The other day I looked it up. Julia Child's tuna had gherkins in it, and I always put a little relish.
My brother likes the gherkins in it.
So I put the gherkins in. It's very good.
Really, it's very. I just no, I'm not.
I can totally relate to you. I brought my lunch every day to school because we were kosher, and my mother didn't believe in, like, my family was everything was homemade. My grandmother was born in 1896, so like, none of anything new and like it was like that's not important. So we didn't have lunchboxes. I had a paper bag with Judith written on it.
I had a paper bag with Jew written on it.
I had a peanut butter sandwich with no jelly every day. And then Fridays I got tuna.
You know what? One day my mom, I don't know, she was visiting my grandmother's house. So my dad packed my lunch and he packed a sardine sandwich. I mean, I was social suicide. So then on top of all these lunch issues, then I get rheumatoid arthritis and I can't. And so what
happened? Your body starts hurting, or?
So it happened. I was very big in talking about the arts. Community theater in the South. It really is. It's all there is. It's all that, culturally, community theater. So I loved it. My community theater was just, it's where I learned about musicals and Broadway, and it was just. Oh, it was the best place to go. And I was, it didn't matter that I was different or I was from New York, or it was just, it was just great. And I was in a production of The Music Man, and I was about 11 or 12. And I think I was one of the kids, from the thing. And my ankles started hurting. But you know how kids, you kind of don't, it just creeps up on you. You just think you can take care of it yourself. So I started, like, honestly, I've never said this. I don't even think my husband is. I started like wadding up toilet paper, putting it in the bottom of my shoes so it would cushion it.
Oh, wow.
I'm like the sad little girl with toilet paper.
And did you tell your parents?
Yeah, I didn't. And I kept just doing that.
What do you think it was inside you that made you not tell them?
Well, it was sort of like this chronic nagging pain, but not sharp pain. So I don't know. I think
Do you think you were like in denial? I mean,
I wasn't in denial because I didn't even know. Like when you're that young, you don't even know. And I just remember, just like when kids go out to play, things that are a nuisance, you just kind of survival instinct, I guess. And it was this nuisancey thing, and then it was worse and worse. And I remember one day, because also, I mean, it's like, the Jewish girl's dream, you lose a lot of weight. So, but, you're 12. And so I remember one day my mother looked at me and she went, and I now feel, as a parent, I feel it because I think my parents didn't notice it immediately.
Right.
And then I said, well, yeah, I started all this stuff. And, so, and arthritis at the time, I don't know if rheumatoid arthritis, and it's basically, there's not a diagnosis for it. They just rule out a lot of other things. So, and I remember my parents driving me to like University of Georgia Hospital, and they were just extraordinary, but they never made me feel afraid, which again, going back, I mean, they must have just been out of their minds. And so the long and short of it was, so back then there wasn't, I was taking 16 aspirin a day. That was all there was.
Oh my God.
There wasn't Motrin. There wasn't Advil.
Right.
There wasn't. And
did your parents know you were taking all this aspirin?
Oh, they gave it to me. That was.
Okay.
Oh, I like that. No, my parents, that was the prescriptive drug to take was aspirin. So there was nothing else.
Right.
So, but then then the other therapy was I couldn't walk on my feet. The docs didn't want me putting pressure on my legs.
Oh my
So
God.
I was kind of bedridden. I had to get homeschooled. I mean, home
For
tutored.
what year? What year was this?
It was 7th grade.
Oh, the worst.
It was 8th grade, the worst.
How, the whole year?
Yeah, almost the whole
And
year. And then the last part of like spring of 8th grade, I was allowed to walk again, but I had to wear these like orthopedic shoes.
I wore orthopedic shoes.
I know, I'm telling you, it's the inbreeding, which I'm all for, all for
Right.
people. But so I remember we went to synagogue that Friday night, and it was the first time I'd really been out. And I was wearing the orthopedic shoes, and they were saddle shoes to look like me.
I had those. Okay.
Oh my God. I can't believe it. We were like,
I had knee braces. I was growing so fast, and my joints were all screwed up. But go ahead.
So my parents said to me, I didn't want to, I just wanted to be like everyone else when we were loafers, right? Penny loafers. That was really big.
Oh my God, yes.
But anyway, my mom said, no, you look fine. No one's going to notice that, you have these horrible clunky things on your feet. And I go to shul, I get to synagogue, and it's at the Oneg, and if someone says to me, oh, we're so glad you're back. We're so glad you're here. And you know what? Those shoes don't look bad at all.
Oh,
it's
just like, shut the fuck up. It's like the cross. Shut the fuck up.
I just dissolved.
The fact that you were bedridden for almost a year at the age of 12, 13. Do you have extra empathy for these kids with this COVID?
No, of course I do.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like,
No, I have extra empathy for the heart. It sounds very shallow, and one of the hardest things, and it's also because, thank God I had something that I didn't have permanent damage from, and I didn't, I was able to function, and, and I'm okay now. But thank God that, it was one of the hardest things was being different. I was so different anyway.
Right.
And that was really hard because at 13,
it's all you want.
You just want to fade in. You just want to fade in.
It's interesting because I just did Seth Rudetsky's podcast, which is all about high school. And I said to him, because and we're going to talk about bullying in a second, but I said to him, it's so hard when you look different, when you're a giant walking that's all people see. And that that defines you, that you have, and you always have to acknowledge it. It's like you sort of had to acknowledge these shoes, and you had to,
Yeah. And again, my parents did something really, so as I'm, wallowing in my self-pity at this point, my mom, so she, again, remember, there's no internet, there's no,
cell phone. Yeah.
The Encyclopedia Britannica. And so she finds somebody.
We had the Golden Book.
In our region.
Yeah.
That a kid who had it, now she grew up, she was playing soccer now, and she brings this teenager to the bedside for her to tell me it's going to be okay.
Oh my God. I love your mother right now.
Just when I think about what she,
That is the most loving.
I'll never forget that.
She was older than you, I assume.
She was like 17, I was 13, and I was so mean to her because I was so angry.
Did you ever
No, maybe again, like you're really,
you gotta find her. You have to find her and say thank you. Do you remember her name?
Her last name is D. Brocklebank. Maybe that was a Brocklebank because it was sort of like Bronk with Brocklebank.
Right.
So thank you, but I'm so sorry I was so mean to you.
Well, you're 13.
13-year-old.
When you were 7, you saw your first Broadway show, Hello, Dolly. And
I can't believe you know this.
You met Ethel Merman? Like,
Ethel
what
Merman.
the fuck? What the F-U-C-K? Your grandmother got you. How did she get you backstage?
No, my my mom. I can't wait for you to meet her. My mom is a real believer in experience. Experience it to the fullest. And she's really, handed that down to me. So if you're going to go to a Broadway show, you are going to meet the star. So I have no idea how she did it. But after the show, my mother said, well, we're going to go meet Ethel Merman now. And so I was like, well, of course we're going to meet Ethel Merman. I'm, Jerry Bronk's daughter. So we did. And I remember she was eating steak. She was eating a steak dinner. And she was like, nah, 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 nah. Thank you.
What was she, was this a matinee or was it an evening?
It was a matinee. And I got you back then, you got dressed up for Broadway shows. So
yeah. Remember when you got dressed up to go on an airplane?
Oh, yeah.
To go on a train? Why? I watched the Grammys. I remember watching the Grammys when I was everyone dressed to the nines. Now it's like torn jeans and a black t-shirt. Like, what the fuck?
I remember the first time I got in an airplane and I wasn't dressed up. I was afraid to take the back. I remember that. And it was when I was in my late 20s.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God, aren't we?
I remember when I wore to Hello Dolly, I had this great coat and with this little fake fur, and a muff. Remember muffs? Did you have a muff?
Oh, yes. No.
It's like, there's no good word. There's no way you can say that word.
Muff. Muff diver. You also went to Judy camp, which was good.
I love Judy camp.
Which camp did you go to?
I love the name Camp Blue Star in North Carolina, where all the Southern Jews went. And I just love that it was called Camp Blue Star because it's like, and I tried to pass it all.
Right,
know how the Jewish camp have the fake Native American names, like, camp.
Oh, yes. I went to Najwa.
Najwa, which is like Jewish spelled backwards, right?
Right.
It sounds all
wait, but so Blue Star, is that because of Israel or no?
Well,
Blue Star?
Blue Star?
Blue Star?
It was, the symbol was a big Jewish star.
Right.
And it was in Henderson. It's in Hendersonville, North Carolina.
Wow. And
everyone Jewish that you meet that grew up in the South that used to say, what years did you go to Blue Star?
Now, the year you were diagnosed, did you get to go to camp?
No, at first I went to Jewish, because we were in New York. So my first years I went to Camp B'nai B'rith, Starlight, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And then we moved to Clemson. I was 11. So I had that was the only year between 9 and 22 that I missed camp. I love camp.
What do you think, though, that period of time of you being bedridden for that?
Oh my God, you really are focusing on
No, I just want to know, how do you think that affected you as an adult? Do you think you have better coping mechanisms? Do you think
You know what's funny? I would never have said that I'm a coper, but it's funny. My cousin Barb, who is a big fan of yours.
I love you, Barb.
She said, because when COVID hit, I'd be a good hostage because as soon as COVID hit, I was batten down the hatches. We have to get supplies. Yeah. I bet, and we couldn't get it. And I don't know what it was like where you were. We couldn't get groceries in New York. It was 8 weeks delay on delivery.
Right.
So I Venmoed money to one of my college housemates in Pennsylvania, in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, and Tom sent me. They shipped us groceries.
No way.
Yeah. So my cousin Barb said, well, maybe because you have that coping mechanism from when you were as a child when you were sick, and I hadn't even thought about it.
I guarantee that's what it is. It's it changes.
So now I have plenty of rice.
Well, in Provincetown, that's why we left. We couldn't get anything, so we left, and there were hours you could go to the grocery store in Provincetown.
That was out of all this. That is one of the weirdest experiences that we live in America. We couldn't get groceries.
It's amazing. Or toilet paper, or paper towels.
Yeah. What is it with paper towels that?
I don't know. And you know what? When I was in Provincetown, a few weeks ago, the head of the supermarket said, stock up on paper towels. And we have so many fucking paper towels. All right. So you were in chorus, okay?
Oh.
And you had Mrs. Fry was your teacher. Mrs. Fry. And she really taught you about the impact arts has on children. And plus, you also had a bully in chorus who used to prick you with a pin. Is that correct?
Oh my God, Angela.
Fuck you, Angela.
But I think she turned out okay.
Oh, all right. Hi, Angela.
And I think I was a target again. I was the Jewish kid with the.
Did they say like anti-Semitic stuff to you?
No, actually never. It was all curiosity.
Wow.
We tell us about, it was actually good. Maybe it was a college town, but it was kind curiosity. But again, I think I was a target, I mean, I think I set myself up as a target with Angela. I mean, I had the stinkiest lunches.
Now on your sardine sandwich, did you get cream cheese?
I've actually blocked that lunch out. That day was horrible.
Such a Jewy thing. Sorry.
I got thrown out of my lunch table, and I got put in with
I'm sorry for bringing that
with
up.
the kids who needed,
special needs. So this Mrs. Fry was a teacher.
It wasn't the life-threatening disease. It was the sardine sandwich. It was just like, sorry, put me over the top.
Well, it does smell. Okay, so
Mrs. Fry. So that actually was so there I am in a small town where I said that community theater and the arts were just this life. I found my people. Because, and as we all say who are artists, we find that tribe of people, because we're usually somewhat weird, as much as I wanted to pass as a cool kid, I was somewhat weird. So we had, like schools, we had the school shows, and she was the director of the school shows. And in high school, she was also for grade school, middle school, or junior high and high school, we had the same chorus teacher. I mean, it wasn't, again, we had one grade school for 3 towns and one high school for 3 towns. And I love the names of the other towns that went to our high school are Central and 6 Mile, because Central had Central Park, which I love.
Nice. Wonder where they got that name from.
And 6 Mile was named because it was named after the Native American princess that was running from somewhere. And that's when she got to 6 miles.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where it was.
But you said that she took even the druggy kids, the football, the jocks, everyone. She incorporated them into these productions.
I lived that Glee lifestyle, of that magical teacher. But what's funny is what I don't know if I said though, Mrs. Fry in 6th grade kicked me out of the chorus.
Why?
So there I am, 6th grade again with my sardine sandwiches and just wanting to fit in. And so the cool thing to do was, all the girls were in chorus. And so I, go follow the cool kids to chorus. And so I'm singing my heart out. And Mrs. Fry says, again, because it wasn't, she was just a mentor. I loved her, but it was, back then you could say things to kids like, I hear a clunker. And so, you can insult kids that way, I guess.
Right.
And so I was just incredulous, like there's a clunker in the room, and I'm just singing. She goes, stop, I hear a clunker. And she goes in front of everybody to listen, and I'm just singing, because I don't want to be, caught with the clunker.
Right.
Turns out she stops in front of me in a very diplomatic way, says, you can be the page turner for the piano teacher.
Oh my God.
So again, that's right up there with sardine sandwich as
when I wanted to be in the play, but I was always had to play an instrument instead because I was so tall. But so my mother came to one of my concerts, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't see what character was Paige Turner," and I'm like, "That was the fucking person turning the page on the piano."
You know about Paige Turner?
Paige Turner. That's so funny. All right. So you went to the prom, right?
Of course I went to the prom, and I wore like this hoop skirt.
And who'd you go with?
With Jessie Lee Baker.
And did you guys make out and everything?
I had this very complicated dress on. I think my mother, again.
She probably did it on purpose.
I think she did. She's so great. But then again, she's not born yesterday.
Yeah.
So all the girls at that time that was just when like the slinky dresses were coming in, and
Yeah.
my mother talks me into a formal like cotillion gown, but it was so complicated to do anything with.
Right.
There was no action that night except Jessie helping me with the hoop skirt to get
I
it.
love that. So you don't go to Clemson, which could you have gone for free?
I don't know, but I think my parents wanted me to,
Get the fuck out.
be amongst.
Jays. So
Yeah.
you go to Penn State.
So I go to Penn State, which I'm third generation Penn Stater, very
You
proud.
are not.
My grandfather went there. My dad went there. My every cousin. So in fact, at Penn State, I would be in class, and I have so many cousins there that. So I don't know. I saw some cute guy, and we're talking in class, and I said, "Wait a minute, can you tell me your last name?" And turns out he's my cousin. Now, why is it so down south? It's not so good above the Mason.
Right. Yeah, that's the same with me and Rutgers. Everyone went to Rutgers because it was the state school. So
I loved Penn State. I loved it.
But you never drank, right?
Again, you're getting right into it. But I'm a fake drinker.
That's so amazing. You go to the biggest party school in the world.
And I'm all for drinking. I drink responsibly.
Right.
But I'm all for it because, and I never, again, don't want to be different. And I can't drink because, I'm still on these arthritis meds. And
what would you fake drink it? Like, would you have water and make believe it was vodka? So can you fake drunk?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, do it. Hey, Robin.
Hey. First of all, I would with the Southern accent. It's like, oh, my Southern just comes out when I drink.
God, you must have seen so much shit. Like,
let me tell you what happened even recently, because I am all for drinking. It's the best, and so I have mastered the red Solo cup.
right.
So I was at the Sundance Film Festival this year with my good friend Emily, and we were having dinner together. It was actually at the house I was staying at, and we're it's cocktail hour, and we're drinking, and Emily and my husband was there this year. And she turns to my husband and she says, "Rob and I have gotten drunk at every film festival for the last 20 years." And so I said, Emily, I don't drink.
And what did she say?
She said, "What?
No fucking way. No idea."
She had all these memories of us getting, wasted.
Did you ever were you ever like, oh my God, I'm so glad, you watched people get inebriated?
No, because it's because down south, back then, we could drive at 14 and you could buy at 15. I don't know. So I guess it's just part of my DNA I've been faking it for so long.
What about smoking pot?
No, I never, because again, there were so many legal drugs that I had to take, and as a kid that I had to take, that I remember my dad saying to me, because in his progressive professor way, well, if you ever want to smoke pot, you'll do it with me. And I was like, yeah, take that off the list.
No fucking way.
My dad, though, my parents are really smart parents. So my brother is Benji Bronk.
Yes, I know. Benji Bronk, Howard Stern.
So I remember my brother at one point wanted to get an earring. And again, so can you imagine the only Jewish boy in the school in the 80s getting an earring? It's just it's down south.
Like draw more attention. Yeah.
It's like shoot him now. So my father was instead of saying no, my dad said, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna just borrow one of mom's earrings, which my mother has, big clunky Jewish lady clip-on earrings.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to wear them, when I take you and drive you and your friends around. How's that? My brother never got an earring.
That's hilarious. When I got my second hole pierced in my ear, my mother, that was like me saying I am on crystal meth. Like she freaked out.
So my father pierced ear. Why? It's something. What is it about Jews and slavery? He said,
You're not supposed, but you look at like these Hasidic women and their kids are pierced like the minute they come out.
I was not allowed to have pierced ears. That's all I wanted to have growing up is just, So I'm in college. I turned 21. My roommate says, let's do something wild. You're 21. We're going to do it. I'm like, I want to get pierced ears. So that was my big rebellion.
And that's when that's like getting a tattoo. Yeah, go ahead.
I get my ears pierced. I go home for Thanksgiving or whatever it was. And my father is like crystal meth. Like I had come home pregnant on crystal meth. I mean, he didn't speak to me for almost the whole. I mean, he was.
Oh my God, that's so mental.
It's like this.
I don't know. My mother was like, "You want to put another hole in your ear?" Yeah. What do you think? Like I was never gonna get a job.
Right.
That it was ridiculous. Okay, so after you graduate.
Wait, by the way, so when Kiki, my little one, who went to Indiana with Henry.
By the way, Henry said, the most beautiful girl.
And that's Danielle, her sister, but they're all beautiful. And so Kiki, I get there for Parents Weekend. She has one of those nose things in.
No way.
And I actually hate those. It's like I'm spending so much money on your facial stuff, and you put something that looks like a blackhead in your ear, in your nose. So anyway, but my mom was coming up too. So I said, you know what? You tell Nana what you did.
Right.
And so we got it on video. It was great.
How do you pick your nose with a nose? Like, I don't get that. And the tongue ring. What the fuck is the tongue ring? I can't.
You know my Penn State graduation story.
What? What's your Penn State graduation story?
I mean, I was a terrible student. Passively a terrible student. I loved extracurricular activities. I was in student government and sorority, and I was just a joiner. I loved joining.
Right.
And so, but I wasn't great about going to class. And so I kind of like skirted through all that. And the month before, and I would drop classes a lot. So my parents are in South Carolina, and to come up to Penn State, even at that time, it's a big deal. You got to get, the airplane tickets so about six months before my senior year is over, second semester, I realized I don't have enough credits to graduate, or I think I don't. I mean, I was the one who, you had to take your science class, and, which was my dad being a physicist, but I just, I was great in the arts classes, but not the science classes. And I remember meteorology. So I just went to the first class, and then I figured, I just can cram and I'll go to the final. So I didn't even buy the book. So I see the final schedule, and I go to the bookstore to buy the book, and I see all these, used meteorology books piled up in the front of the, when you return your books. And I thought, that's convenient. So I go to buy it, but I had missed the finals, and that's why everyone had returned it.
So what happened?
So I do have the gift of gab.
Yeah.
And which is why I became a lobbyist after college. But so somehow I did all these independent studies. Meanwhile, so it's 3 months before graduation, and I dropped a lot of classes, and I realized I don't think I have enough to graduate, but I'm not sure because I've never gone to see my college advisor because I don't want to deal with it. Like I'm also like put it under the rug and it'll all work out.
And it'll go away.
So my parents, they're all excited and they're coming up for graduation, and it's this whole big deal.
And are you feeling guilt? Like, did you have a stomach ache? I would have been like,
yeah, I mean, no, and there's, so, and I'm feeling guilt. And then I'm like, just, shove it under the rug and it somehow will work out. So I don't say anything. Now they buy their tickets. My grandmother's coming, the whole thing. And so then I get called into the dean's office. And I'm sure now this is the moment of reckoning.
Right.
So I start confessing all. So should I come into the dean and he says, whatever. And I say, well, he said, I guess you know why you're here. And I said, of course I do. I'm so sorry. And I didn't mean to, drop every course. And I did talk this professor into doing this. And I talked this professor into doing that. And I thought of blah, blah, blah. I'm going through all the things that I did like under the table. And he goes, stop talking. you have an overdue library book from your freshman year. And because that was the one time I went to the library, it was a scavenger
That
hunt.
is hilarious. I didn't pay some parking tickets, and I wasn't going to graduate. My sister had to come and pay the parking tickets, and to this fucking day, she does not let me live it down.
I still have, so the addendum is, the only thing I didn't do, I let my parents buy the tickets, get the hotel rooms, my grandmother's coming up, blah, blah, blah. The only thing I didn't do was buy a graduation gown. I'm like, I shouldn't spend the $20 if I'm not going to graduate.
No way.
Maybe it was like $12 then, or $10. But I let my parents spend all this money, So now it's like 3 days before graduation. My mom comes up and, my grandma, they want to see me in my graduation gown. I say, well, I thought it would be great if we got it together. So we go to the bookstore to get it. And my grandmother says, oh, look at this one. It has shoulder pads in it. That will make, be very attractive on you.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know from nothing.
Right.
So I get the one with the shoulder pads, and it actually has this little velvet thing around it too. So I'm like, great. So I'm wearing it. Next morning walking to graduation. I'm kind of looking around, and then I'm sitting down there. I got a doctorate grad.
That's hilarious. So you graduated in a doctorate gown. That's beautiful.
So when I noticed, I started trying to rip the things off and the shoulder pads out.
That's hilarious. Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of Kill Me Now with the one and only Robin Bronk. Now, if you like the show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It helps more people find the podcast, and 5 stars only with the reviews. Seriously. Like, why give a review if you're going to, be a shithead? Okay? 5 stars only. Thank you. Also, hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And as you know, Hanukkah and Christmas are coming up. And what is the perfect gift? What is it? Yes, it is my book. Yes, I can say that. When they come for the comedians, we're all in trouble. It is a great read. It's easy. It's laugh out loud funny. And it's informative. And, when you give someone a book, they're like, oh, she went out of her way to get a book. It's great. It's gotten great reviews. I'll be reading one right now. And the audiobook was in the Noteworthy in the New York Times book review. So really, seriously, do it. Okay? Do it. Okay, this is from Karen S. Intelligent, thought-provoking, and of course funny. I checked it out from the library. Now I want to buy it. Great work. Okay, 5 stars, by the way. Okay, she checked it out from the library, and now she wants to own it. What? Come on. Don't check it out from the library. I don't get any money for that. Anyway, it really would mean so much to me if you would check it out. Order links are on the homepage of judygold.com. Wherever books are sold, you can find it. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram for upcoming events, virtual and in person. I'm at Judy Gold, JEWDYGOLD. On Saturday, December 5th, I will be at Soul Joe's in Pennsylvania, outside of Philly, doing an outdoor show, and everyone has their own little pod, and it's very safe. So if you're in the Philly area and you want to laugh and get the fuck out of the house, go buy a ticket. It's on my website. And listen, I hope everyone stays safe, stays well, and stays healthy and happy. And as we always say, so long.
Don't forget to tune in next week to Just Kill Me Now.
It's Just Kill Me.
Don't forget to turn for part 2 on Just Kill Me.
No, it's not. It's
Just Kill Me.
No.
Judy Gold's Just Kill Me.
Just.
Just Kill Me Now.